there were government signs all over it. They really wanted the people to know that the government was doing this for the people and they were doing it for free, and that yes, we have a designated enjoyment area where you can come and enjoy yourself. Of course, don't enjoy yourself anywhere outside the designated enjoyment zone, but you can come and enjoy yourself here, and we want you to pay special attention to the fact that we, the government, we love you so much that we put this event on for you, and we did it for free. Incredible, folks. It's absolutely incredible. The amount of self-promotion at the event was absolutely phenomenal. It actually made the whole thing look very ugly. And in fact, it was almost impossible to enjoy yourself in the atmosphere that it created because it was so corporate and it was so government-sponsored and so emblazoned with government propaganda everywhere that it detracted from the entire thing. But that's the way they do it, folks. They really want you to know that they are your friend, when the reality is that nothing could be further from the truth. It's really all about control, and it's all about even controlling what enjoyment you have, because if you want to enjoy yourself, you will need to come and do it at one of our government-sponsored designated enjoyment zones. That's the way things are heading, folks. Like I said, the government simply is not your friend, and nothing they do is being done for the benefit of the people. Even if it looks that way on the surface, you can be guaranteed that underneath the surface there is something far more insidious going on. So yes, we have a system of corporatism that has been superimposed over our reality, folks. Now, as I said, there are many people who know this. There are many people who may find the information new. They might find it somewhat startling to realize how this all works. But that's how it works, folks. There are quite literally two realities, one superimposed over the other, and we actually walk in both of them. The question is, how do we extricate ourselves from this corporate system? And this is what we've been attempting to do for so many years now, folks. As I've said so many times, one of the most important things you can do is to question authority at every single occasion that you come across authority. Anyone who claims to have authority over you, you need to question why they believe they have authority over you. You can combat this system, folks, but you've got to do it in the right way. That's why I think it's very dangerous for people just to be out there burning their IDs and thinking they can simply turn their back on it. I mean, great, we could turn our back on the system, and it would be great if everybody did turn their back on the system, but we'd have to do it all together. And meanwhile, until that happens, we need to find a way to navigate through the system and wake people up around us on the way through. And that's what we need to do. I mean, I think it's pointless forming political parties and things, but hey, if you want to do that, then go ahead and do it. I mean, infiltrate the system and bring it down from within. We need to do it in every way that we can, from within and from without. We need to figure out every single thing we can do which is going to create difficulties and throw spanners in the works of this system. We need to throw everything we can upon the gears and levers and stop the machine from running. That's what we need to do. And it's got to be done externally and internally. And when I say externally and internally, I mean from both without the system, from outside the system, and from within the system. I mean, there are people that are operating within the parameters of the system that are quite awake and are working to undermine things from within, and I think that's a good thing. I think we need to approach it from all angles. But of course, we need to do the internal work on ourselves as well. That's the big issue, folks. And it's important that people really see this and see how important this issue is, because there are many people who have been so brutalized by the system that they really don't believe they have any internal power left at all. And that's what this system does. You see, because there are two realities, there is the real world where you are alive, and there is the corporate world where you are a corporate fiction and have been trained to operate according to corporate parameters. And it's very difficult for people to ever really experience themselves within this corporate world. And because many of them don't even realize that there are two worlds and that the corporate world is in fact fiction, they apply the corporate world to the real world and they judge themselves in the real world according to corporate parameters or according to the parameters of this social system. And so people often judge themselves very poorly. It's very difficult for people to become successful, in inverted commas, within the parameters of the commercial corporate system, because it just goes so far against humanity. Basically, you've got to be a sociopath. You've got to be able to put empathy aside and be prepared to climb over and step on people in order to get to the top of the pile, in order to function within the corporate system. And it's very alien to mankind. It's very alien to human nature to be like this. And so many people, after operating within the corporate system for many years, find themselves to be quite despondent and judge themselves poorly and feel that they're not worthy, they're not successful, they're not what they should be, they aren't as good as other people, and they'll never have what it takes, all of these things, because they're judging themselves according to a corporate system which is so alien to human life, it beggars belief that people would even be operating within it. And by operating within that system, they're judging themselves by fictitious parameters, which are somebody else's parameters, and they're not looking at themselves as a normal, living, breathing, sentient life form with their own artistic expression of creation. They're not experiencing that artistic expression. They never get to experience the art of themselves because they are too busy trying to fit in to somebody else's art. Because that's what the corporate system is. It is the art of the psychopaths who run the world. That's what they do. They've created this artistic statement of their reality, and they've trained everybody to operate within its parameters. And you can't really operate within the parameters of this corporate system and maintain any real degree of humanity. It just doesn't work. You can't do that. You can't be ripping people off and profiting from everybody on one hand and giving to charities on the other. It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't alleviate the pain of the soul. It doesn't create any true expression. And that's what this system does, folks. And just the fact that you're forced to operate within what are essentially sociopathic parameters, it creates a huge schism in the human mind, a huge schism in human consciousness, because people are basically good. People want to help other people. People want to do the right thing. I mean, it feels wonderful when you do something for somebody and you see them smile and you see the joy that it brings. You get an incredibly joyful feeling yourself out of bringing joy to other people. And yet everything about this system is designed to make you profit from other people. It's designed to reduce everything about the human experience to commerce and to reduce all your relationships with people to commerce as well. I mean, very often this is what our relationships are. We surround ourselves by people that we can benefit or gain from very often. I mean, not everybody. I mean, sure, there are a lot of people who are genuine people who have genuine friends, but generally speaking, as a society, as a business-based society and a commercial-based society, we are required to surround ourselves with people which we may be able to benefit from and which may help alleviate the commercial drudgery of our own lives. And of course, we judge everybody by what they have and what they own and what rungs they've attained on the social ladder, and we judge ourselves by these same parameters. And all of it is fiction, folks. All of it is fiction, and all of it is designed to prevent you from ever truly discovering yourself. So that's what I mean when I say the system harvests your energy. It harvests your soul. It harvests you by preventing you from ever being able to be you. You are required to be what the system wants you to be, and you're required to look this way, dress this way, act this way, go to these specific places, these designated entertainment zones and these designated social areas for people of your social class, and all this rubbish that they train us into believing is real, when none of it is actually real, folks. It's all fiction. It's all that fancy world with the feathers and bells and pretty caps and bangles and braids, but none of it is who you are. And that's the world that people are forced to operate within. And if you're a caring person and you're a person who feels a lot for other people, then you're probably not one who places much value on the braids and bells and feathers and pretty caps and nice documents with fancy lettering on them. What you're probably placing more value on is human expression and the soul and the life of people, the light in their eyes. And of course, if that's the way you feel and that is the focus of your attention, then you will never make it, in inverted commas, as a successful business person within this society. And so people judge themselves poorly. And really, when you look at it, what you find is that people judge themselves poorly because they have real human expression, because they have a real caring and giving heart. And so they are not able to function within this corporate world. And so they deem themselves as not being successful. And so they judge themselves as being of lesser worth than other people, often because they are simply a far more caring human being than the people around them, the people who are successful. And this is a terrible thing, folks. We judge ourselves poorly because of our humanity. And yet that's what this system has trained us to do. And not only that, but we judge other people poorly. Look at that guy. He's a loser. He never made it. He never did anything with his life. And very often it's because he cared enough to step outside the system, and he cared about people too much to be able to rip them off and profit from them. And so he chose to live his life as someone on the outside of society. And that's what many people do, folks. And we judge these people poorly because they have more human potential than business potential. And that's a very sad thing. And sure, it's not always the case, but very often it is the case, folks. We don't really look for human qualities in people, not within this business-based society anyway. I mean, we do to a certain degree. We do in our private lives. We do expect people to display human qualities in the real world, in inverted commas, when they go home and they are playing with their kids or mowing the lawn or interacting with the neighbours. But in the business world, we don't expect people to portray human qualities at all. We expect people to function in what is essentially a dog-eat-dog type of environment. And when people are ruthless in business, we praise them for having good business sense. And yet if people were to apply this attitude to real life, it would be basically the attitude of a psychopath. And you'd never survive in real life if you applied business sense to real life. And yet we're forced to operate within this business-based society. And it's like this because we are chattels ourselves. We've been reduced to chattels through the imposition of the corporate entity created via the birth certificate. We were essentially placed into slavery when that certificate was created, and we have been forced to operate under these business corporate parameters ever since. And that's how our energy is harvested, folks.